Hey guys, it's Mountain Eonin. Patrick DeBerry is here again. I know I haven't done a video in a very long time. I've been out of internet service and teaching out in the middle of the woods for the past 2.5 months. So great to be back at this wonderful piece of property that I'm allowed to be on. But yeah, I figured today we build a simple cook setup I have grown to really like, that I've been using a lot this summer. And I'd figure I'd give you guys my opinions and thoughts on the Primitive Woodsman Mantis full tang hatchet. So we're gonna start by cutting down this hardwood here to get a base for our setup, and then we'll go back to camp and process it. So stay with me, y'all. One of the things that I really like to do is get my body square up and away, so that way if this hatchet were to go through, go over here. Hatchets, in my opinion, are one of the more dangerous tools you can bring into the woodland because of how short they are. They're the perfect height, just go right into your thigh. So you've got to be extra super careful when you're using them. So we'll go ahead and get this hardwood down. Also being aware of things like foot entrapment, which I currently am dealing with. But yeah. It's quite punky, but that was quite nice to swing with. It's kind of nice and kind of has its pitfalls and downfalls, is that this hatchet is kind of slim, so it bites quite deep into woods, but it makes it not so great for splitting. So we'll go over how to split with this thing. All right guys, so we just got back and I got all the material that I needed for this cooking setup. This cooking setup is very simple. It doesn't need any cordage, which I really like. Being able to conserve your resources is a very important part of wilderness living and wilderness survival, bushcraft, if you want to call it that. But so we have a Y stick, and we're going to sharpen this end. So now that we're kind of working with more smaller detail stuff with the hatchet, what I like to do is choke up on it, so my hand is at more of a half grip, and then I know that my Y stick's going to be facing this way, so I'm going to sharpen a side of it. Now I'm going to be swinging close and doing small chopping actions into the stump. That way it doesn't go through and down. So I'm going to sharpen this side. I'm not really swinging, I'm more of doing kind of this action, which is more of like an up down with my shoulder. But I have a nice point there that'll suffice for sticking this in the ground, so that's done. Next part we have is our stabilizing kind of peg, and for this I also want a sharp side, and it doesn't really matter for this, but it's probably going to go like this along the side, so I'm going to choose to have this side be pointed side. Again, just very small short cuts. I don't need to be swinging like this. That's good enough. And then this is the bigger portion. This is our crane for the whole scenario. We have a thinner side and we have a thicker side. I'm going to choose to have a thicker side on the ground so it has more of a cant. For that, I'm going to chop off this kind of ugly, quote unquote, looking side. So I'm going to get my body out and away. So if my hatchet passes through, it goes to the side of my body. We're just going to cut this. You guys can see what I mean by how well it bites. Very deep. And yeah, there we go. And then do the same with this side. Yep. So that's almost all the prep we need to do. Go ahead and shave those off, just for uniformity. We do need a pot hook at the end, and I've seen people do the owl beak pot hook, which I really like, but I'm going to try and just carve it with the hatchet, even though I have my belt knife on my hip, just to explore it. So I want to see how this thing wants to run. It's probably going to want something like that, so I'm going to put it right there. I might come in and just like gently push down and in. Come in the other side. Now I'm gripping it like this, so I have small push control. I'm slicing with it. A lot of control here, so that way it doesn't slip and go into my body. That would not be good. But doing some more shaving action, but just something for like a pot bail, or I'll demonstrate in a second, a fish mouth spreader to go ahead and sit on. Go ahead and come back here. There we go, just something for that to sit on. I may make that deeper, but you guys can see the idea of having a little notch right there, so everything kind of sits together. But yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll get this whole thing set up and positioned. All right, guys, so now we have our components. We have our little pin and we have our Y stick. I'm gonna get this Y stick into the ground first. I'm gonna back it out a little bit, maybe to right here. I'm gonna take the pole of this hatchet, the back of it, and tap it in. Oh, goes in so nice. So I'll stay there, and then take my crane here and bring it to where I would want it, over the fire. Let's say about there. Then I'm going to take my little stake here, place it on the ground, grab my hatchet out again, tap this in. Should probably crown this off for use later, but yeah, having it staked in will make life a lot easier for me later on. Snap it off. There we go. So that's solid in there now. And then, for example, here I just have a nesting cup and a little fish mouth spreader. That just goes nicely on the end there. And that's about perfect. I like to have a full hang 10 of my pot being above my fire. So that works perfectly for me. Yeah, y'all. This is a favorite trail setup of mine. It's very quick, very handy, very easy. The one negative downside about this setup is that if it's not, if your flames are too big, this will get singed. But since this is green wood, it shouldn't burn up for quite a while. And one of the big things that we teach at the place I was working was you take this off with a glove and you tell where you're going to put it. And then as soon as you take that off, this comes off immediately. If my cup does not run away, you take this off immediately so the flames aren't licking it. So maybe I'll make this Y stick a bit shorter so it doesn't have enough, or it doesn't have as much clearance to make, or it doesn't have as much stick to have to go over. It makes it a little less secure, but I feel pretty fine about how it is right now. But yeah, I just wanted to give a quick demo on me actually using the tool before I talk to you guys about it. Yeah, this is gonna stay here for quite a while, so we'll get into talking about the tool more in depth. All right, guys, so I have a fire going and I'm wanting to split out some smaller pieces. So I figured I'd show you guys how to split with this axe. With its profile, one of my favorite ways, and this is just a good safe option, is to get my piece of wood like this, holding it with two hands and twisting. using leverage really helps split that wood out nicely. I believe this is that's some pine. So you can do it like that and get good sized pieces. In the case of, let's say you had like let's say this piece is way bigger than it actually is. Actually, let's give it a shot at splitting something a bit bigger. This is some sourwood that's been laying in my camp. So we'll put the axe right there. I'm gonna get my bigger baton so it has more mass behind it. So axe is gonna go and follow this natural made crack, tap it in. I'm keeping my axe out to the side so it doesn't come back and hit me in the thigh, but then let's say I get it here. There we go. Nicely split. So that's my favorite ways to do it. And once you get it here, it's easy enough to just pick up a half and split it down the way I showed you before. There we go. That 80 CRV tool steel is very strong. So yeah, guys, there we go. Just quick ways to split with this axe. I find it to have a lot of use in the camp during deer season for the flaying option, and it skins decently well. So yeah. All right, guys, so now that we've used the tool, I figure I'd talk to you guys in depth a little bit more. Just to be clear, I do know Primitive Woodsman. Me and him are very good friends, and I received this a couple months ago, right before Georgia Bushcraft spring gathering, and I got it, and I instantly fell in love with it because of its full tang construction. As you guys can see, the steel runs all the way through, comes out to a pommel spike, or a pommel spike. So it's good for busting open walnuts, drilling out bow drill divots. If you needed to in a combat scenario, placing that against someone's sternum and pushing in. Yeah, let's talk about it a little bit more. I got this Kydex sheath made by him as well. It's got a little belt loop there, which I like. It's a snap-on belt loop, so I don't even have to take off my belt, which I really like as well. But a lot of people saw this and they were like, oh, it's a Winkler style sheath of just being able to push on through. I really like it for that reason, because it's so easy to deploy. But it is 80 CRV 2 through and through. The bit itself is quite thin, like I was explaining, but it makes it really excellent at biting into trees. It's got a decent sized beard for your quick carving work, like I was doing, pushing in. I like doing this for tiny little carving, like spoon carving, or even carving bigger setups like that. So the pole here is not a traditional hammer style pole. It is rounded, but you can still hammer stuff in the ground. It is rounded for the ability of, when you're skinning out deer hides, being able to flay it out like you would with a hunter's axe is very beneficial instead of having to cut at it, because you leave marks. The handles are 80, or not 80 CRV2. That's what the entire axe is made of. The handle scales themselves are made out of Python micarta. That's what it originally looked like, and then I took it to the PW shop and got it half textured, and that has made me like it a lot more because it adds a bit more grip when I'm choking up and doing more work. It had a wrapping of paracord along this whole section right here. I'm probably going to redo it with some camo P-cord. But yeah, overall, as a small, actually quite lightweight pack axe, I really like this. And there's something to be said about just the aesthetic, I guess, of carrying a hatchet in the woods. I'm a really big fan of chopping blades, but sometimes you just want to carry a hatchet to feel like the woodsman of the old days. So for me, that's a good mix of modern and traditional. Things that I find mildly less desirable is the splitting. action of it is a little bit more difficult than you may imagine. Since it does not have a more wedge style profile, a lot of that splitting power comes to right about here and then has a hard time. But I often just implement a wedge and then you're good. It's a lot safer than just trying to like split it all the way through. On the prototype, it's a lot thicker, a lot more wedge-like, but it's a lot heavier as well. So that's just the one thing. Other than that, I have done a lot of stuff with this hatchet, and I've been a very big fan of just keeping it in my pack with the Kydex on, just to have around camp. Great for splitting up kindling and other things. But yeah, this is just a quick little review of this tool. I definitely want to make more YouTube videos. I know I've been kind of slacking on that. So if you guys have any ideas for videos you would like to see, I would love to hear it in the comments. But yeah, y'all, I hope you have a good rest of your Monday is when this video should be coming out. And I will see you guys on the flip side. Please like, subscribe, share if you would like it. Yeah, y'all, hope you have a good rest of your Monday.